You know what doesn't belong in your epic summer plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. While you're planning beach trips, barbecues, and 3-day weekends, your wireless bill should be the last thing holding you back. That's why I made the switch to Mint Mobile. With Mint, you can get the coverage and speed you're used to, but for way less money. And for a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for $15 a month. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Bye-bye. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. That part is what sold me. I've been trying to hang on to this number that I've had for 20 years. I love that Mint lets me take my number with me. I love Mint. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer and your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/ratchet. That's mintmobile.com/ratchet. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 per month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
So, you just started using LinkedIn Premium. Now what? Well, on your premium company page, you noticed around 7.5 times more page engagement and 5 times more page views. Well done. And now, new clients are messaging you. All because you're using LinkedIn Premium, which helps you get the business growth you want. Think big, small business. Think big. Start your free trial at linkedin.com/premium small business. That's linkedin.com/premium small business.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/Spotify.
This is the episode that was supposed to run last Wednesday. I was in the middle of recording this episode when I got a breaking news alert that there was a lawsuit filed against Tyler Perry, a $260 million lawsuit. So I put this episode on pause to cover the Tyler Perry lawsuit. So this week's episode should have been last week's episode. Telling you that in advance because some of the things I talked about came to fruition. Who knew? I mean, so for those of you who have been asking, like, could you do content that's not Diddy? Understand you're asking a lot right now. Like, that's not the point. None of this is the point. The point is, this is last week's episode, but today. Wait. Before we even get started, there's more breaking news. Before I could upload this episode on Wednesday, there was breaking news about the Diddy trial. Inaccurate news. TMZ announced that charges had been dropped. Some charges, not all, had been dropped in the Diddy case, which is not entirely accurate, but it's all over social media. I read what TMZ wrote. I didn't fully understand it. So I had to call in a lawyer, Kim Foxx, former Cook County State's attorney, to break it down for us. So if you're looking for commentary on Diddy and these charges, it's all the way at the end of the podcast, somewhere like, I don't know, an hour 15 mark. Once I put ads in there, it'll be a little longer, but go to the end of the podcast is where you'll find Kim. This whole podcast is jankety, is thrown together. It is a hodgepodge. It is a collage, but it's a whole lot of stuff we had to cover. So I covered it, and now I'm going to bed. It's 6 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those who don't identify as either, you are listening to Ratchet and Respectable. This is a regular, degular episode, not a bonus episode, and not all about Diddy. Last week's regular episode, I had to do Diddy because we hadn't talked about him in over a week and I had to catch up. This week, we're back to normal. I cannot promise you next week will be normal because this case is insane. But we're not talking about the case. Actually, we are talking about the case. We're just not only talking about the case. And we would have just been talking about the case, but Jalen Hurts and Bree Burrows got remarried or married to each other a second time. There was the wedding that already happened like a month ago, the private wedding that no one knew anything about. And then there's like the big wedding that just happened over the weekend in Napa Valley. I read on page 6, they booked out the 4 seasons in Napa from Thursday to Sunday. 4 days booked out the whole 4 seasons. I can't wait to see these pictures. Page 6 does have pictures, but they're not the good pictures. I want to see the professional photos, like the HD 4K photos. I want to see those. They got some like random, it looks like a hotel worker was taking pictures with a good zoom. But they didn't get the dress. They got a picture of Jalen Hurts zoomed on in. And I was like, he's the man in the wedding. Nobody care about the groom. Where's the dress? I want to see the dress. I want to see the flowers. I want to see the zhuzh. I want to see the bridesmaids' dresses. I want to see the mother's dress. I want to see who was in attendance. Yes, you're important. Jalen Hurts. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I get it. I love you, cousin Jalen. Love. Not cousin, because he's very young. Nephew Jalen. I'm very excited about Bree Burrows, like, entering our family. That's a catch. But like, bruh, it's the wedding. It's not about you. Okay, you put on like a white tux jacket. Like, okay, good for you, going classic. But like the dress, all I can see is that it's strapless. I want to see the guests. Who all was over there? I want to see the ring up close. I want to see the nails. I want to see the shoes. I want to see the budget. I reached out to my friends that work in multiple publications. This is the first time I've ever done this. This is how pressed I am about this wedding. I was like, hey, did y'all get the exclusive photos? Nobody I reached out to. Actually, that's not true. I reached out to 4 different publications. You can go ahead and guess who they are. 3 of them told me no. One of them said, we already ran some photos, but she didn't say no. I said, I want the HD photos. I want the exclusive. Who got the exclusive? You got them? And she didn't respond. No LOL, no thumbs up, no denial. And I was like, I hope you do have them. I hope you do. They better. I want to see this wedding so bad. Although, Mr. and Mrs. Hurts, they strike me as the type of people who wouldn't release their wedding photos. Like they would do some Beyonce and Jay-Z. They're very private, and that's fine. I don't know these people. They're complete strangers. I really should not be this invested in weddings of people half my age. And yet, you know how I feel about a good budget well spent. There's very few things that give me more joy. Let me see what else. Did page 6 say anything else about this wedding? Rented out the 4 seasons. A big dinner was held on Thursday at the pool before Friday's barn party. They have some pictures of the setup. That's why I was like, it's a hotel worker. It's literally just a bunch of empty chairs and a piano, a covered piano with a tent over it. There's a little bit of setup behind the scenes. You can see some white draping, lots of beautiful trees, some nice chandeliers, but not like crystal, like bamboo. It's giving Bali fields. Beautiful. But ain't no zhuzh. There's a picture of Jalen. He's got on his white tux jacket with the big fluffy, like it's like 70s large, bow tie, fresh shape up. He looks good, but it's like from a distance. And he's like frowning in the photo, like he just caught somebody taking a picture of him. And then they have these overhead shots that are either super, super far away with a super zoom because they're fuzzy. You can't make anything out. They look like the bride and groom on top of a cake. I'm not even sure who that is. I mean, it looks like a woman in a wedding gown, but Jalen, the man who should be Jalen, like the husband, has on a black tux, but apparently Jalen wore white. It's like a stand-in couple trying to get the shot or something. I don't know. But for sure, the groom has on a white tux, and the man in this photo does not. It could be her daddy. And then there's another overhead photo. This appears to be after the wedding. Seems like, okay, these look like bridesmaids. They're holding flowers as well. They're in all black floor-length asymmetric dresses, but I can't see no detail. Baby, I'm in it for the detail. I need to see how the fabric moves. I need to see how the fabric photographs. I need to see the hairstyles. I need to see the makeup. I need to see the earrings. I need to see the diamonds. These are things that are important to me. It's all from a distance. I can't see nothing, though. Auntie wants to see. I can say auntie because these are people who are in their 20s. If you over 35 and calling me auntie, stop right now. Stevie Wonder was at the wedding. I'm reading on page 6. It says Hurts 26 and Burrows 28. Oh, he got him an older woman, a mature woman. It says the wedding ceremony was on Saturday in front of the fountain. They exchanged vows in the presence of numerous famous guests. The only famous person they named was Stevie Wonder. And then they said that the wedding was followed by a reception. Oh, florals for spring. Tell me something new. Burrows stunned in a white strapless A-line dress. The groom sported a white tux. Who was it by? Who was the designer? They're not giving me the details I need. The bride was surrounded by white flowers as she posed for photos. You're not giving me nothing. You're not giving me nothing. People noticed the on-again, off-again couple met while attending the University of Alabama, didn't go public with their romance until years later. Sparked engagement rumors, diamond ring, blah, blah, blah. Hurts later confirmed that he had indeed proposed by sharing with Essence a sweet snap from the milestone moment. Now, in fairness, I did not reach out to Essence. I would love if Essence had the photos. I would love if people had the photos. I don't give a damn who has the photos. I just want to see the photos. Kudos to whoever gets them, if somebody actually got them. Page 6 ain't giving me no real details. Let me go back to People and see if they had any additional details. No, People had the same pictures that Page 6 has, so they probably have the same details. Yeah, they're not giving me nothing new. Burroughs graduated with her bachelor's degree in 2017 before earning an MBA at Alabama's Manderson School of Business. Hurts left Alabama in early 2019 to play his senior season at Oklahoma. Okay, sure, whatever. Burroughs most recently worked in tech as an artificial intelligence partner for IBM, according to her since-deleted LinkedIn. Yeah, he pulled a Clooney. He went and got him a smart woman. I like that. I like that a lot. People swear up and down like it's bad to be like a smart Black girl with a little bit of change and something going on for yourself. It makes you unmarriageable. That's what, basic niggas like to say on the internet. Oh, just FYI, I've had a little champagne. Nothing too much. If I sound a little saucy to you, I've had one glass of champagne. I've also had no carbs. I'm celebrating. I got news today that I don't want to call them my tenants, my sellers are moving out of my apartment this week. So I can officially take possession of my place, should I so choose, come Saturday. I do not choose because the kitchen and both bathrooms need to be renovated, and then we need to redo the floors, and it makes no sense to move in and move furniture in when I need to have the floors done. So I won't be moving for another 2 months. But I can actually take possession of my place if I should so choose. Now I have a choice, and that makes a world of difference. I cried. It's it seems real. Oh shit. I actually bought a place. I am a homeowner. I have responsibilities. This is perfect. It's my dream place. It is. Okay, just very quickly, right? It's every place that I've ever lived in on my own, from my first apartment in Brooklyn to the apartment that I lived in forever in Brooklyn, where I used to have Sunday brunches, and it'd be 50 people in my living room because actually my apartment was large enough to hold them, and this apartment is even bigger. But 50 people on the living room. We were on the couches and we were on the floor and everything, but it was perfect, right? And then the place I live in Ghana, it's the view that I loved in Johannesburg. It's the size of the place that I loved in Cape Town. The ability to walk to water. It's not like the Atlantic Ocean, but I can walk to the park and there's a lake, and apparently swans are in the lake. My apartment in Paris, it was very teeny tiny. It was only a 1-bedroom. It probably should have been a studio. I could barely close the door when I went to the bathroom because it was so damn small. It doesn't remind me of that apartment per se, but I'm renovating the kitchen so it looks like a Parisian bistro. So it will remind me of Paris. It's perfect. You know what? No, unrenovated. It's perfect. I bought it because it was perfect, and I'm going to renovate it to make it mine and put my stamp on it. But it's perfect. If I had bought that apartment in Ghana, it was supposed to be ready in June 2025. They're talking about the thing is going to be ready in December. Literally, they've done nothing since I left. If I had put all that money into that apartment, I would be miserable right now. Miserable. I would have hundreds of thousands of dollars invested into an apartment I don't know when I would be able to move into. I thought I was miserable about having to walk away from that apartment. The Lord works in mysterious ways. This condo, too, it has the views that I wanted from the condo in Ghana. Obviously, it's not of Accra. I can't see the Atlantic Ocean from a distance. Let me not shit on that apartment because I really, really wanted it. And it had a balcony. I really, really wanted that place. And it was a corner unit, which my current is a corner unit, too. Actually, I mean, there's only 2 units on the whole floor because I bought the penthouse. That's not the point. That's not the point. None of this is the point. The point is, I feel like I actually own my place because these people are moving out. And like, I actually have a key because I don't currently have one. I actually have a key to my place. It also dawns on me because they've been, paying to live there while they still occupied it. And I was like, oh shit, this mortgage about to kick in. All good. I'm about to pay this shit off as fast as possible. Once I saw like the interest I was paying on this mortgage, I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Jalen Hurts was kind of like our only good news for the week. We about to talk about Audra McDonald, her performance at the Tonys, which, my God, if you didn't see it, please YouTube it. Please go to Gypsy Bway, BWAY on Instagram, or go to CBS. They have the entire 4-minute performance. If you remember when I went to see Audra in Gypsy, I want to say probably like 2 weeks ago, like I was just raving about it. I think I did a whole segment on like the last regular episode that wasn't a Diddy episode. I could not stop talking about Audra McDonald. I have been singing one of the songs from the play nonstop for like, I don't know, like 2.5 weeks now. I saw it on Broadway and it was the most exhilarating thing that I had ever seen. I told you, like, the show wasn't over. It was a standing ovation and we just could not sit down. It was so electric. The last time I felt like that, Leslie Odom Jr. and Pearly Victorious, which I was like, oh, he definitely get a Tony, which he didn't get, which I was like, robbed. He was robbed. And then also before that, Jennifer Hudson in Dreamgirls. And I was at the theater and the theater burst into applause. It was Christmas Day many, many years ago. But the theater burst into applause because everyone just had so much energy at this amazing, in Jennifer's case, like, scene that we had just witnessed. Like, you had to do something with all that energy, just that awe of it all. Audra McDonald in Gypsy was just live. And then also when she performed it on CBS, like the same feeling that I felt live, it was the exact same feeling that I felt on CBS. Like it translated through the screen. I watched that performance and I wanted to be excellent. I can't sing. So I'm not going to be able to do that. Like that's out of my realm. That's out of my wheelhouse. But I was like, I could do something excellent and I want to do that level of excellence because my God, I just want to like capture the moment. I want to be in the moment. She gave up that performance and gave it up. I say gave it up because she gave everything she had and left it on the floor. And I'm like, you do this 8 days a week? Does. And she didn't win. She didn't win the Tony. Robbed. You've been robbed, madame. You've been robbed. What is this gentleman's name? There was a gentleman. Please tell me I kept the page up. Adam Davenport is his name. And he is a vocal coach, a master vocal coach. And he is based in Los Angeles. And he too was moved by what he saw Audra perform. I don't know if he saw it in person, but he saw the performance on CBS. He wrote like thousands of words on Facebook about the Audra performance. And I couldn't put fully into words. Like I knew I had all these big feelings. I knew that I was watching the first major performance of this character on Broadway, at least, by a Black woman, a single mom in a certain era of time. I think it's like the 50s or so. Maybe 40s. She has limited rights, right? But then you add the Blackness on top of it. And so you're taking a woman marginalized and then you're making her Black. So you're pushing her further away from center. I clearly am not a stage mom. I don't have kids. But this song that she performed and her desire to be something, her frustration, her lamenting about time lost or regrets about decisions made, about the timing. She says early on in her performance that, if I was born at a different time, like I would have had more choices and just here and now I didn't. But like I had a dream. And just because the dream was not fulfilled doesn't mean like the dream has gone away. I think that's relatable. So I want to read you a little bit of what this gentleman had to say about Audra McDonald because he put into words what I was feeling. And then his words also speak to another topic that we're going to discuss. His name is Adam Davenport. I told you what he does, the master vocal coach. So I want to just read you a very long essay on Facebook, and I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but I'm going to read you some of it because it's just very, very beautiful. He cried about the performance. He said, quote, "My tears continued into Monday," the show aired on Sunday, "exacerbated by Audra's loss in the Best Actress category after being expected to take home her 7th Tony Award that night. Audra McDonald gave a performance that redefined what musical theater can be. She didn't just meet the bar, she moved it. And yet, she was passed over in favor of performance that arguably didn't carry the same emotional risk or cultural weight. It's a devastating reminder that for Black women, brilliance is never enough. How many times have we seen a Black woman work harder than her counterparts or be more qualified and still walk away with nothing or less than she deserves?" Audra McDonald turned Rose's Turn, I cannot remember the name of that song, into a protest song against systemic marginalization, invisibility, and the cost of ambition in a world that doesn't make space for women, particularly women of color. "Well, someone tell me, when is it my turn?" In Audra's voice, these words carry historical weight, echoing the frustration of generations denied their rightful place in society. Audra, as a Black woman performing Rose's Turn, reframes the piece as something far more radical than its original context. What was once a moment of maternal frustration becomes a confrontation with the system, with exclusion, racism, patriarchy, erasure. The song becomes a weapon, a scream, a stand. But Audra does more than unravel, she explodes. It's not a woman merely asking for applause, it's a woman demanding justice, recognition, space. The energy is volcanic. She channeled something sacred and ancestral. She isn't playing Rose as her white predecessors may have originally imagined her. She's pulling the character through herself, through her identity, history, rage, and insight, creating a performance that deconstructs both the character and the form. This isn't just theater. It's a quantum leap in human expression through the performing arts. She's both inside the song and commenting on it from the outside. This performance will be studied and hold its place in history books along the likes of Nina Simone at Montreux in 1976, Whitney Houston singing the national anthem in 1991 Super Bowl, or Aretha Franklin singing Nessun Dorma at the 1998 Grammy Awards. These are not just performances, they're acts of cultural transformation in which Black women took their power back by asserting it unapologetically for the entire world to see. He continues, Audra's performance didn't just change the song, it challenged ownership. Because what if this song was never about your neurotic showbiz mom? What if it's about every person who's been sidelined, unseen, overwritten? The only thing I love more than a budget well spent is a good piece of writing. I'm a writer. It's what I do. I tell you this about Audra so that I can tell you this about the Grammys. The Grammys have decided to introduce a new category. If you recall, Beyonce won for Best Country Album. And as a response, the Grammy has decided that going forward, this is the only category they're changing from one year to the next. They're going to split the country genre into 2 categories. So they're going to do like Best Traditional Country Album, and then they're going to do Best Contemporary Country Album. And I was like, did y'all really create a new award just because a Black woman won? Beyonce is, I believe, the first Black woman to receive a Grammy for Best Country Album. And I was like, y'all could have waited a couple years to make it slightly less obvious that you're creating a new award to give white people a chance. Because y'all are scared that a Black woman then came in and won, quote unquote, y'all's white award. And so you're like, oh no, this can never happen again. Absolutely not. We will be getting a country album award every year. That's racist. Y'all really went and changed the rules because a Black woman won. And a Black woman that's like Beyonce, it's not like, oh, some mediocre chick, slid through and you're just like, this wasn't right. It's fucking Beyonce. Cowboy Carter is my favorite Beyonce album. I didn't join the Beehive. I knew where the meetings were the 4th of every month at 4 p.m. I started looking up the meetings after Lemonade, but I wasn't going to actually attend or anything. Cowboy Carter, I'm showing up at 4 p.m. April 4th at 4 p.m. is the biggest celebration of the year. I'm there and I'm bringing cake. That said, I still don't have tickets to this Beyonce concert that is literally up the street from my house. I'm going. I'm for sure going. Like 90% going. I don't have plans that weekend. I should probably go get tickets.
I have way too much free time, said no one ever. Work, appointments, family and friends, life is nonstop. I'm trying to find a new place. On top of all that, completely overwhelming. That's where apartments.com comes in. If you want to make time for the things that you love, but you still have to find your next home, apartments.com has the tools to make your home search so much easier. And it's all on one site. With 3D virtual tours to get a peek at a rental listing, online tour scheduling, plus the ability to see the exact unit that you're interested in and apply for a place with one click, renters can handle it all on apartments.com. Make your move from the comfort of anywhere and make more time for you. Join the millions of happy renters and visit apartments.com, the place to find a place.
The Disney Plus Hulu Max bundle. It's the ultimate bundle for an unbelievable price. Plans starting at $16.99 a month. Get it and watch Marvel Television's Ironheart on Disney Plus.
I want to build something iconic.
A new season of The Bear on Hulu.
We can make people happy.
And The Epic, a Minecraft movie on Max.
Anything you can imagine is possible.
The Disney Plus Hulu Max bundle. Plans starting at $16.99 a month. All these and more streaming soon. Terms apply. Visit Disney Plus Hulu Max Bundle.com for details.
That's the end of anything that we could remotely pretend is good Black news this week. After this, everything is, well, okay, maybe this is a child survived. This has to count. Adriana Smith, do you remember her name? She's a Georgia mom. When she was 9 weeks pregnant, she had a medical issue that left her brain dead. Instead of doing, the sensible, common sense thing, the hospital, the state of Georgia, I'm really not sure who made this call, decided to keep her alive as a sort of human incubator as such, to let the fetus inside her continue to grow. This week, I don't know if it's today, yesterday, I'm seeing the stories everywhere today. So maybe yesterday it was announced. The fetus that had been growing inside her since February, so 4 months later, was considered viable. I'm choosing my language very carefully here. And doctors decided to remove the fetus from her via C-section. I'm very careful not to say she gave birth because she's brain dead. They removed the fetus from her body, and that baby is named Chance. I believe his grandmother named him Chance for the obvious reason. The baby weighed 1 pound and 13 ounces, and he is currently in NICU, and there is an expectation that he will survive. They didn't say survive in what condition, they just said survive. I would also like to add here that I have not heard one word about this child's father. When I initially talked about this story, I think it was at least a month ago, her mother had been doing interviews, I think maybe one other family member, but no one had said a word about the child's father. And I was like, I guarantee you the lady did not impregnate herself. Like, the child does have a father somewhere. I don't understand, like, where is he? Because, he would be the primary person responsible for said baby, no? But Adriana, she will now be taken off life support since she is no longer useful as an incubator. I feel so bad, so bad for her family, particularly her mother, who just said this whole experience has been absolutely awful, and her son. She has a 7-year-old son, and this whole time they've told the son that his mother has been sleeping. And I was like, I don't know what else you tell the kid at that age. You can't explain to a 7-year-old. We're like, technically she's alive, but she's carrying your brother. So they're using her as like a science experiment to see, like, that's too much for a 7-year-old. So, like, mommy is sleeping. There's going to be a baby. Like, the baby could die. Like, that's too much. That's too much. That's too much. So mommy is sleeping that baby going to need so much therapy. Her mama going to need so much therapy. whoever the father of this child is that nobody's heard a peep from, maybe the man just don't like to talk to the media. He too will need therapy. Like, this is a clusterfuck. But I do hope baby Chance survives. It's not his fault. The government in Georgia is just complete fucking idiots for these abortion rules. This is what y'all want? Y'all want to keep brain dead women alive as incubators? This is what you want? I guess so. What else do I have on this list? It's so much shit. I don't have the wherewithal to get into the state of our country. It's been 2 weeks since I did like a proper, just not talking about Diddy episode. In that time, our head of government threw a birthday parade and tried to mask it as a celebration of the 250th anniversary of the Army, which technically it was, but it also happened to fall on his 79th birthday. And I was like, are you kidding me? So they had tanks rolling through downtown D.C. They spent something like $48 million on the actual parade, with an extra $16 million allotted for fixing the streets of D.C. after the tanks roll over them. There is a world in which y'all could have actually spent that money on replenishing the D.C. budget. But no. They decided to run tanks down the goddamn street. Like, nobody showed up for the parade. There's a video circulating, which at first I was like, oh, this is AI. There's no way you can hear the tank squeaking. But in fact, you can hear the tank squeaking. I don't know whether tanks in real life squeak or not. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But there were so few people at the parade. There was no cheers. There was no just like hum of just human voices. Like, a bunch of people being together just sounds like something, even when people aren't yelling, because there's so many people. It wasn't enough people. The bleachers, people were like, oh, they're half empty. Half was generous. They were like a fourth full. They were like 3/4 empty. Meanwhile, there's nationwide protests. Like, I heard there were 5 million people that went out for the No Kings protest. And like, I don't know, every major city and a bunch of small towns across the country, like, people are pissed at this administration, and rightfully so. Like, as I'm reporting this, like, we're on the brink of World War III. I don't know if they're extended to me, but my sympathies go out to the citizens of every country who are being held hostage by the insane choices of their leaders. This is not what I fucking voted for. I didn't even vote for this man. I have on my list of like crazy shit. Occupy LA. The National Guard and the Marines are currently occupying downtown Los Angeles for no fucking reason. Governor Newsom, who has emerged as like the new Cuomo, he's talking with big boy talk, and I like it. And I was like, thank you for redeeming yourself after that foray into podcasting where you were like, well, let's find the middle ground with like, Nazis. Nigga, what? No. Now he's like staunchly anti-Trump and is like, come lock me up. You know where I'm at? And I was like, oh, okay. He about that life. But he's emerging. No, actually should say has emerged as a leader, a national leader, by the way he's standing up to Trump. And I was like, your leadership looks strong right now. Keep up the good energy, because as of right now, we have no viable candidate for the next presidential elections. His name was floated, and then, that whole podcast, his name went away. And I was like, and now you're back. Don't fuck this up, my dude. Don't fuck this up. Don't Cuomo this. Speaking of Cuomo, he's running for mayor of New York City. They had a debate the other day. I can't remember the guy's name. I don't have it in my phone. Hold on. Let me look it up. I'm reading this on The City. Zohran Mamdani. He's 33 years old. He's out of the state legislature. He's on the panel with Cuomo and other people who are running for mayor. And one of the moderators says to Cuomo, if you get elected and you serve 2 terms, then you'll be a 76-year-old mayor. And Cuomo says that this is actually a good thing because he has lots of experience and he has what Mamdani lacks. He also says when Mamdani was in the state legislature, he only passed 3 bills. So Cuomo goes on to say, quote, to put a person in this seat at this time with no experience is reckless and dangerous. To which point Mamdani acknowledges, I may not have a lot of experience, but what else I don't have is I have never had to resign in disgrace. I have never cut Medicaid. I have never stolen hundreds of millions of dollars from the MTA. I have never hounded the 13 women who credibly accused me of sexual harassment. I have never sued for their gynecological records. obviously knew about the women in the sexual harassment. I remember when Cuomo stepped down. I was like, I'm sorry. He sued the women for their gynecological records? I don't know about all the women, but there was at least one. And I was like, oh, oh, oh. Sometimes I get a little nostalgic about Cuomo because he guided us through COVID and he's very likable. He's very charismatic. And, let's keep it a buck. Our national leader, many of our national leaders, in fact, have various charges of sexual assault, rape, sexual harassment, things of this nature. It's becoming really difficult to find a man among us who's like really on the up and up, who doesn't have some bullshit with women in their background. And I was like, I remember like during COVID, Cuomo used to give Trump hell. And I like that. The same thing I like in Newsom, that he stands up to Trump and he calls like bullshit on obvious bullshit. I like that Cuomo does that as well. And I was like, he's not perfect. And, he did harass these women. Like, there's not even any doubt about that. But in my head, I was kind of like, well, we need somebody who can stand up and we need somebody who can defend New York. And clearly Mayor Adams ain't it. And we do need somebody with experience. I'm saying we as a former New Yorker. He almost got me. There's a very good campaign. I don't know if it's running on commercials in New York. I assume it is, but it's all over my social media. Several of the women that Cuomo sexually harassed have put together a video describing their harassment. I don't remember all of the details, but one in particular, he's coming at her and she's like, hey, governor, this is inappropriate. Do not. And she was like, yeah. So he just stuck his hand up my shirt. And I was like, oh God. It's one thing when you just hear names, you hear numbers, like, okay, X number of women accused him of sexual harassment. And then you start to hear the details, like, what the gentleman said. You tried to get their gynecological records? What? You shoved your hand up your employee's shirt? What? It's hard to find a man among us, seemingly, who has not harassed or assaulted or raped at this point and desires to be in politics. We must hold out. We must hold out for someone who knows how to raise hell and knows how to make good trouble, but also isn't, a harasser, assaulter, molester, rapist, any of those things. There's a very active anti-Cuomo campaign. Several women that I follow, Bevy Smith being one of them, my Bevy, Tarana Burke, me too, Tamika Mallory. A couple other people I've seen have been actively posting anti-Cuomo content, reminding people that, he is a harasser. And please look at these videos in these women's own words. I'm telling you all this because one of the problems with having someone in the top spot that just, has such poor morals, poor values, poor ethics, poor just everything. He says he does one thing, he does another. He says he'll commit to something, he doesn't commit. What's the saying? Fish rots from the head, shit trickles down, whatever. I think sometimes it's just like, I don't know. There's so many fights to fight. And it's just like, fuck. It's just always something. It's just like, you got to fight for everything. Basic decency, basic morals, basic ethics, like with everything. Yeah, you do. Over the weekend, two elected officials, I don't remember their titles, two elected officials, white folks, husband and wife, were murdered in Minnesota. They were like, it was a guy and he was like pretending to be a cop. And I was like, but then they found out he was a cop somewhere else. And I was like, so he was a cop. He was pretending to be a Minnesota cop. But if he was a cop somewhere else, then he was a cop. No, he's a cop. And he like killed them. And then he had like a list of like a whole bunch of other people he wanted to kill too. And I was like, yo, fascism is coming. No, fascism is here. This is insane. People are like, oh my God, we're turning into Nazi Germany. We have turned. They're not like, killing people and burning them up. And I was like, no, they're deporting them and sending them to prisons where we don't know what the fuck is going on and making them work for really cheap labor. So, okay, they're not killing them. I honestly don't think they're killing them. I think we're instituting slavery. I look at the videos of these masked men who nobody knows who the fuck they are. They don't have warrants. They don't have badges. They don't have papers. But they're just like rounding up random people and like throwing them in vans and taking them wherever and sending them overseas with like no due process. So this don't give nobody else like slave catcher vibes. I saw this black man crying on the internet, grown ass man, like boo-hooing. And I'm not making fun of him because his tears were very real and the pain was very real. And I felt it. He's a teacher, I believe. And he went to a graduation and he was like, the district is, mostly like Latino, Hispanic. And he said, ICE ran up in the graduation. And he was like, the parents started running and the kids started, crying, running after their parents, clinging to their teachers. Like, he was like, it was insane. And he was like, these are elementary school kids. And he was like, really? Y'all are running up in elementary schools trying to like abduct people, kidnap people? Because that's what it is. I was like, it's giving slave catcher. We're in a shit show. And I need to say that out loud because I haven't said it in a while. And I just want to acknowledge it. I don't have solutions. I don't have thoughts. I don't have prayers. I just have like conundrums and laments that this is some bullshit. Also on our list is Portia's divorce settlement. In general, I haven't watched Real Housewives of Atlanta in probably over a decade, probably since Porsha was on there looking for a real train for the Underground Railroad. I swear she was just doing that as like some Jessica Simpson shit. There's no way she's that dumb. Porsha had married a man, Simon, in a very beautiful wedding. The only reason I really paid attention to the wedding is because Swanky Jerry did all the fashion. I love me some Swanky Jerry. I saw he was partying down at ABFF. I didn't go this year, and I felt okay about it. I saw all the pictures from all the parties and the gallivanting, and I was like, oh, if I was there, I would have been there, and I was okay with it until I saw Swanky Jerry, and I was like, fuck, I should have gone to Miami. I ain't do shit last weekend. I really could have gone down. I'm trying to be responsible because I wasn't working it, and I would have had to pay to be there, and I was like, I need window treatments. I just bought cabinets for my kitchen, which I was like, I'm sorry, they're how much? I'm paying more for cabinets than Diddy was paying Jane per month. They beautiful. They custom. That's not the point. The point is, I got to get stuff for this apartment, so I can't be spending money frivolously, and I decided to go on a birthday trip. It's my birthday! So, I didn't go to ABFF, and I miss Swanky Jerry, which, unhappiness. Portia and Simon got married. Simon is supposed to be like really, 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 really rich, like in Nigeria, but also possibly a scammer. But still, that doesn't make him not rich. Scam money is still real money. Simon has been deported. And also, Portia's divorce is finally complete and the settlement has been revealed. A judge ruled that the couple's prenuptial agreement would be enforced, which means Portia will receive $40,000 per month in alimony for 15 months. Allegedly, that was the same amount of money that old girl, Jane, was getting in child support. Jane from the Diddy trial. And then also, Portia will have her legal fees paid. This is what the judge has ordered. Additionally, she will get to keep the Rolls Royce that her ex-husband had gifted her. And then she has until 2027, 2 years, to decide whether she wants to remain in the $7 million premarital home that they shared during their union. So I have two thoughts on this. One of them is for the folks to be like, marriage is just a piece of paper. Breaking up with somebody don't get you this. When you try to divorce somebody, a legally binding contract, a marriage license entitles you to certain rights. You don't get, like $40,000 in alimony or the house or the Rolls Royce or any of those things, right? There's that. Marriage is not just a piece of paper. I don't know what portion of this is Portia's going to receive or not be on the hook for. I had to ask the attorneys, like, all of this sounds really good on paper, and everybody's like, oh my God, like, Portia about to be paid. And I ain't got nothing against Portia. What I say on the last episode? Not the one that went up Monday. That was a really good episode, too. It was an interview with Kim Foxx. She's the prosecutor who did the R. Kelly case, and then also Jussie Smollett. She was a top prosecutor in Chicago, the first Black woman to hold the job. And that office is like the second largest prosecutor's office, like in the entire country. Like, she's a bad chick. She weighed in on her thoughts on the Diddy case thus far. If you have not listened to that episode, highly recommend. My dad, right? He told me, and he said, I think this is one of your best episodes. And that was a good interview. And he was like, I'd hire her. That's a very high compliment. It's not the point. The point is, I had to ask my attorney friends, and I was like, help me out here, right? Simon just got deported back to Nigeria. A judge has said he got to do all this shit. What can actually be enforced? I know a guy who got deported from America. He overstayed his visa. He has a 5-year ban on returning to the country. So he can't come back if he wanted to. Simon, I imagine, has at minimum a 5-year ban on coming back to the country. Plus, Trump is about to institute this new travel ban. I believe Nigeria is on the list. Either way, he can't come back into the country. There's no incentive for him to pay Portia's legal fees or this $40,000 for the next 15 months. Like, for what? Yeah, I was ordered to do it, but like, I can't even get into the country. And if his bank accounts aren't based here, like, then why would he do it? It sounds really great on paper that the judge has made this ruling, but the likelihood of her ever seeing this money, both the $40,000 for 15 months or to have him pay for her legal fees, which she's still on the hook for. So, like, the judge said, like, okay, he has to pay them, but, like, if he doesn't pay them, like, they gonna get paid. They lawyers. They gonna get paid. Additionally, the Rolls Royce, if the Rolls Royce is paid off, she may actually get to keep that. If the Rolls Royce is not paid off, and whose name was the Rolls Royce then? It says he gifted it to her. If it's paid off, then it's hers. If it's not paid off, then she either going to have to take payments or they're going to repo that shit. And then also remain in the $7 million premarital home. The house was bought before they were married. The house is likely in his name. If the house is paid off and she remains in it, say best case scenario, the house is paid off, somebody got to pay the taxes on the house. If Simon don't pay the taxes on the house, then they can't keep the house. People talk about how they lose grandma's house because nobody paid the taxes on the house. This ain't a grandma situation, but the taxes on the house. See, I just got a house. I know just a little tiny bit. The little tiny bit I know can be applied here. You don't pay the taxes on the house, you can't keep the house. So she's going to have to pay the taxes on the house. Or, God forbid, the house is not paid off. Somebody got to pay this mortgage. If the mortgage is not paid off in this $7 million house, somebody got to pay it. So if Simon don't pay it because he don't live in the country, he can't live in it. So he's like, what the fuck? It is what it is. American credit don't apply in Nigeria. What's the incentive for him to pay it? So they repo the house. We wasn't living in it no way because she live in it. Somebody got to pay the mortgage on that house if it ain't paid. If Portia don't pay it, then the house is gone. I want sis to get her money. I do want sis to get her money. I'm just talking about the legality of the whole situation. What the judge said should be and what's likely to be, what the finances turn out to be, what a nigga's likely to do. You think American nigga shit is bad? Nigerian nigga shit? You know what? I'm not even going to single out Nigeria. I'm going to say the whole continent of Africa. When them men want to be petty, it's a new level. That whole like bouncing between continents thing, you could do a whole lot of shit when you could just up and leave to another continent and you ain't got to be accountable for it. I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying a lot of people. It's new levels of nigga shit. Trust me. I have not experienced it, thank God. But I've heard stories. And not like, oh, so-and-so's cousin's friends, whatever. Like, no. Like, my neighbor.
Subtle results. Still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
So good, so good, so good.
Great brands, great prices. Everyone's got a reason to rack.
You know they have Marc Jacobs?
Nike? Yes. Just so many good brands.
Vince, Birkenstock, and more brands you love are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Plus, buy it online and pick it up in-store the same day for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
That's not the point. None of this is the point. What else is the point? R. Kelly OD'd in prison, but he not dead. He was in solitary confinement. He said, like, the prison guards were trying to kill him. I did not know R. Kelly was so goddamn relevant. I clicked on, I want to say NBC News, Washington Post, one of them, to, like, check on the Diddy trial just to see what was going on for the day, if it was going to be, like, a long recap or a short one. And they had, like, R. Kelly was trending at the top of the page where they put, like, the important stuff. It was like, like war in Iran or R. Kelly, Diddy, no King's March. I'm reading on People right now. R. Kelly, this was yesterday. Actually, the post is from today, but the incident happened yesterday. R. Kelly was rushed to the hospital after an overdose. He claims prison officials gave him near lethal dose of meds. So now his lawyer is trying to get him released from prison. They're saying that the prison employees are trying to kill him. It's a long article, longer than it needed to be, perhaps because I just really don't care about this. He's caused so much harm. I don't. But I'll read you the story anyway. It says R. Kelly spent 2 days at a North Carolina medical facility over the weekend. He claims he suffered an overdose from medications provided by prison employees. So according to his lawyer, they filed an emergency motion seeking R. Kelly's release from prison due to fears for his safety. Release him where? Not among the free population where there are girls. Absolutely not. He can't be free. They said the Bureau of Prisons administered an amount of medication that significantly exceeded a safe dose, and it caused him to overdose, putting his life in jeopardy. They go on to note that R. Kelly takes medication for anxiety and to help him sleep. Sir, that's your demons. You need to reconcile your demon. His lawyer also notes that R. Kelly has blood clots in his legs and lungs that required surgery. But prison officials refused to let him undergo that procedure because it required a week of recovery. So his lawyer is arguing that Mr. Kelly's life is in jeopardy because the Bureau of Prisons denied him necessary surgery to clear clots from his lungs. He could die from this condition. Blood clots are serious, and they are letting it happen. There is no legitimate explanation for that. I only care about this to the extent that I don't think other people in this circumstance who are locked up in prison, I feel like just because you're in prison doesn't mean you're not entitled to decent treatment, health care. If it was just R. Kelly, I wouldn't care. It's just I don't like the precedent that it sets for people who are in prison not to get the health care that they need. R. Kelly's lawyer says on June 13th, Kelly woke up in solitary confinement. He felt faint. He was dizzy. He started to see black spots in his vision. It said he struggled to get on his feet. He was barely able to walk. And he, quote, crawled to the door of the cell and lost consciousness. And People explains the singer has been allegedly in solitary confinement since June 10th. There was an emergency motion filed seeking a temporary furlough for R. Kelly. The motion claimed that officials within the Bureau of Prisons were plotting to kill Kelly. The motion requested that he be granted a temporary furlough where he would be placed under house arrest. So instead, they put him in solitary confinement. The motion includes a declaration from an inmate who says that he was asked to kill R. Kelly. It says the 2 men ended up in the same wing of the prison, and the guy eventually told Kelly about the alleged plot. And People notes that this guy is no stranger to legal actions. He's filed well over 100 civil suits and petitions in federal court over the past 2 decades. It doesn't say those 2 decades were while he was in prison. It just says over the last 2 decades. It says he was also convicted of threatening to assault and murder a federal judge and an assistant United States attorney back in 2015 for letters he sent from his prison cell. That's an interesting note. It says R. Kelly is petitioning Donald Trump in an attempt to get a pardon. R. Kelly ain't got no money. How you going to get pardoned by Trump with no money? People notes that Kelly has no known ties to the president, but he did live in Trump Tower in Chicago prior to his incarceration. Kelly's lawyer argues that he is not safe while he is in federal custody, and to keep him in prison while he is under threat is a cruel and unusual punishment. Wasn't he locking up girls and women in his house and had them doing their business, they bodily business in a bucket. Do you remember that? I don't know if that was part 1 of Surviving R. Kelly or part 2. So I feel no sympathy for you. None whatsoever. Spokespersons for the Bureau of Prisons declined to comment on the allegation. People obtained the government's response to Kelly's motion filed by Assistant U.S. Attorney Jason Julian. He believes placing Kelly in solitary confinement was an effort by prison officials to protect him. He then added, I love the added, R. Kelly is a serial child molester whose criminal abuse of children dates back to at least President Bill Clinton's first term in office, decades before Kelly was taken into federal custody. He also added additionally, Kelly has never taken responsibility for his years of sexually abusing children, and he probably never will. Oh dear. I'm with him though. Kelly is currently serving a 30-year sentence after being convicted of multiple charges of racketeering. Is that what they got him for? The conduct included the sexual exploitation of children, forced labor, Diddy, RICO, and violations of the Mann Act, RICO, involving the coercion and transportation of women and girls in interstate commerce to engage in illegal sexual activity, RICO. You found out they're about to get Diddy on the same shit they got R. Kelly for. Diddy was allegedly, don't sue me, trafficking women, not girls. What Prince say? Women, not girls, rule my world. Prince was like, I be out here doing freaky shit, but it ain't with nobody underage. Consenting adults. Although Prince did like him young, if I recall. Barely legal is actually legal. I hate to say it. It's better than illegal. We could do better with, people around your own age. Speaking of which, the Diddy trial, part of the reason I'm not covering it today, well, down on the podcast, I got so frustrated with the coverage from yesterday. They had 2 summary witnesses on the stand, both people who work for the feds. They figured out the itineraries of Cassie, Diddy, and a bunch of escorts, and they put them all together to show that they were in the same place at the same time. So here are the travel schedules. Here's the planes in and out. Here's the hotel. Here's where the charge shows up on Diddy's Amex and what account that it was taken out of. So the paper trail of the money, you're using bad boy money to pay for this shit. If nothing else, the transportation of prostitutes, which is illegal, right? So you're using bad boy money to pay for crime. Okay, that was the first person. The second person got up to testify about they had seized phones from Diddy and from his chief of staff, KK. They sent texts about a criminal conspiracy. They were sending texts asking for money to pay the drug dealer and then confirming when they had paid it and then confirming where they had left the drugs. They were confirming that they knew about Diddy and the freak-offs, and they were confirming that they knew about Cassie's abuse. They were confirming that they knew about Jane saying no, she didn't want to do hotel nights, Wild King nights, freak-offs, whatever he wanted to call them. They were confirming that they were arranging travel plans for the escorts. They were confirming with voice notes, confirming that they had spoken to certain people about certain things. The feds went and seized the call records. So you could look at a certain date and you could see that Diddy's security called him to say, like, are you good? And then I want to come visit you and make sure you're good. And then security and Diddy are there together. And then security is calling a former assistant, Mia, trying to get her on the phone with Diddy. This is right after Cassie's lawsuit. But they're trying to get on the phone with Mia. Diddy is calling her multiple times in the day, texting her, asking her to call. The security guard is following up, trying to get her to call Diddy because they're trying to tamper with the witness, which is part of RICO. But they got a paper trail of all this shit. And I was like, did y'all not know it was criminal? Or y'all were just all ballsy enough to think nobody would ever catch us? You're creating a literal transcript of criminal fucking behavior. I was annoyed. Look. I am not encouraging anyone listening to this podcast to embark on a life of crime. Now, should you decide to embark on dishonest work for honest pay, because pay is pay. If you decide to embark on dishonest, illegal work, you need to dedicate yourself to learning your occupation in the same way as people who do honest work. You need to study being a criminal. If you want to make some decent money off of it, you need some actual skill. You need to research. You need to educate yourself on the mistakes that other people have made so you can work your way around them. If you decide that you want to embark on criminal shit, just some 101 rules. Don't create a transcript of it. Have y'all learned nothing from Kwame Kilpatrick? Like, we still texting about shit on our cell phones? Like criminal shit, especially in the year of our Lord, 2025? Yeah. Not just texting photos, videos. Diddy was sending shit to KK's. They thought that they could just like wipe their phones and like everything went away. And so it was just, like lost to the gods forever. And I was like, y'all know clouds exist, right? You know your phone company has records of all your shit, right? Hence why Kwame Kilpatrick and the woman he was seeing who was not his wife, how the Detroit Free Press was able to print hundreds of their messages, their BlackBerry Messenger messages, print them on the front page of the newspaper. The same way that, like, I don't know, like 15 years later, I'm reading recaps on Washington Post and CNN and NBC News of shit that Diddy and his chief of staff and the assistants had in their phones from like 2009. These are old ass phones. For a living, like, I recover information for phones, old phones. I could pull up most of it. He was like, yeah, James' phone had been wiped, but I was able to pull up like 75% of it. Really? Really? Technology is advanced, people. Advance with it. Even when I'm like dealing with dudes, like I'm paranoid about like shit that I text them, and I was like, don't let nobody screenshot the filthy shit I be saying. I'm a writer. I'm good with words. Y'all saw some of them screenshots. He'd be like, Demetria. Look, everybody was over 40. Everybody was grown and consenting. At the time, I meant it. I don't mean it right now, but at the time, I'm just saying. And that ain't even criminal shit. Last but not least, is this it? Hold on. Yeah, we talked about all the other big stuff. The only thing I skipped was Kevin Liles released a statement saying he didn't assault anybody. Apparently, a woman is accusing him of assault. A lawsuit hasn't come out. He's saying it's a Jay-Z situation. He's being blackmailed, so he just put the information out there to get ahead of it. He posted that like 2-3 weeks ago, but the lawsuit never came. One of his former artists, Lady Luck, I believe, is accusing him of, is it assault, sexual harassment, maybe both? When she files a lawsuit, if she files a lawsuit, we can address it. Because as of right now, it's just him saying, I didn't do some shit that nobody's accused him of doing. He got out in front of it, and I was like, is that the strategy now? But this is an article that I really wanted to talk about. I mean, yes and no. I'm appalled that they wrote it, but I felt like it's something that I wanted to address. I used to really like The Atlantic. I thought they did really good articles, and I'm a big fan of Ta-Nehisi Coates. I hope I pronounced his name right. I looked it up on YouTube so I didn't butcher it. The Atlantic published a story recently called Where is Barack Obama? And it's exactly in the same vein of, I think we might have talked about this on here. I know I talked about it online. Over the last couple, basically since January 20th, basically every day, something crazy has happened. People are consistently asking, like, where's Kamala Harris? Where's Kamala Harris? Where's Kamala? Like, where does she, like, she's abandoned us. Like, where's Kamala? Where's Kamala? Where's Kamala? And I'm like, Kamala is at home with her husband and her family. We did talk about this because I talked about Kamala popping up at Broadway. I think she went to see Gypsy. Kamala Harris is a private citizen. Like, she was, yes, formerly vice president of the United States, and then she ran to be president of the United States. And the electorate just did not turn out for her in the way that they should. More conversation now than there was before about whether the election was rigged, and people are looking into that. But as the facts currently stand, Kamala Harris was not elected to president of the United States. So people asking, like, well, where is she? Like, why isn't she staying? Why isn't she doing like Kamala, like, do something? Kamala Harris is not an elected official because we did not elect her. I mean, I voted for her. I was on my way to the hospital for surgery, and literally in the Uber on the way to the hospital, I asked them to stop so I could send in my vote by mail to make sure that my vote counted and did for this election, because I knew it was going to be bad. I had no idea it was going to be as bad as it is. And there's nothing I could have done. Like, I voted. Kamala ran.
And she told us, like, he's going to get us into World War III. He's going to do mass deportations. Like, they were holding up signs at all the Trump rallies that was like, mass deportation now. Did you think he didn't mean it? Kamala was like, he's going to enact
Project 2025.
And people were like, no, he's not going to do that shit. Like, that's crazy.
Kamala Harris tried to warn us. She did everything she fucking could to try to stop a second Trump presidency. So after the election in which she was not chosen, asking like, where's Kamala? Where's Kamala? Where's Kamala? Many people have pointed out that like, hey, you need to get off this mammy shit. Her job is not to come fucking save you. Your job was to vote her into office. So to turn around and be like, well, where are you? Hopefully she's somewhere with Mr. Dougie doing very filthy, unspeakable things. Where's Kamala? With Doug. That's where she at. Okay. So The Atlantic published an article a couple weeks ago called Where is Barack Obama? Here's the best thing about this article. I'm on The Atlantic. I'm trying to pull up the article. It's not on the main page anymore. So I type in like, where is Barack Obama? This is the second time they've run an article like this. There was another one in 2018. So Barack is out of office. They elect Trump. Things go to shit pretty quickly. Barack Obama, he's gone. He just served 8 years. He's not president anymore. He's out here like on boats with like Richard Branson and shit. Well, yeah, because he's retired. Where is Barack Obama? Minding his private citizen business. He and Michelle, God willing, are somewhere doing indecent, unspeakable things that are God ordained. Where is Barack Obama? He's minding his goddamn business. Then and now. They wrote that article in 2018, again, after he served 8 years in office. It's 7 years later, which means he's been out of office 7 more years than the last time y'all wrote this article. The Atlantic, literally the same publication, asked again, where is Barack Obama? What is white people's obsession with asking where black people at and what they've been doing? We still on slave patrols? Why y'all worried about where this black men at? Y'all ain't got no white people to ask where they at? I swear to you, there's an entire Congress. There's 100 senators, and there's like, 435? I ain't been to civics in a really long time, but it's over 400 members of the House. All of those people are elected officials on the national level. There are tons of elected officials on the state level and on the local level. Those people, it is literally their job to fix shit. Ask one of those thousands of people whose literal job it is to fix shit, as opposed to somebody who ain't been in office for over 8 fucking years. Like, are you serious right now? Are you serious right now? They're serious right now. I want to get into this Atlantic article so we can talk about the levels of stupid. So reading on The Atlantic, this article is from June 8th. It starts off talking about Trump and that $400 million luxury jet from Qatar. And it says, while Trump was, in the Middle East being gifted, Barack Obama was headed off on his own foreign excursion, a trip to Norway. He was going to hang out at the summer of state of his old friend, King Harold IV. The fifth. It says they chewed over global affairs and the freshest local salmon, which had been smoked on the premises and seasoned with herbs from the royal garden. It said Trump had begun his second term with a continuous spree of democracy-shaking, economy-quaking, norm-obliterating action. And Obama, true to form, has remained carefully above it all. And then they proceed to talk about Obama celebrated the anniversary of the Affordable Care Act. And then he posted his annual NCAA basketball brackets. He sent out an Easter message in April, and he mourned the death of the Pope. It says in May, he welcomed the new Pope. He's also from Chicago. And then he sent prayers to Joe Biden following his prostate diagnosis. So I don't understand how you're asking where Obama's at when you make a whole list of where Obama's at. The things that he's done once a month, every month from March, April, and May. Like, where he's at. It's not just a matter of where is he at. It's why isn't he doing what we want him to do? Because the article goes on to say, no matter how brazen Trump becomes, the most effective communicator in the Democratic Party continues to opt for minimal communication. His, quote, audacity of hope presidency has given way to the fierce lethargy of semi-retirement. Look, The Audacity of Hope presidency was for the 8 years that he was president. I'll even give you the campaign before to get to president and then the 8 years. So 10 years of Audacity of Hope for the presidency. He's no longer president. And by your own acknowledgement, he's in like semi-retirement. What you want him to work for? Then they go on to say, Obama occasionally dips into politics, but they call his statements brief and unmemorable. They talk about the fundraising emails that he sends out for the Democratic Party. And I'm like, look, like money is important. Those emails are annoying, but money is important. You need money to campaign. You need money to like push ish forward. Okay. They talk about Obama praising his alma mater, Harvard, for quote, rejecting an unlawful and ham-handed attempt by the White House to stifle academic freedom. So he's speaking up. You're acknowledging he's speaking up. He criticized a Republican bill that would threaten health care for millions. So once again, he's speaking up. He touted a liberal judge who was running for a crucial seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. So once again, he's speaking up. You just named like 4 different ways that he's speaking up. Where is Obama? He's right there. You just listed it. Then back to more complaints and also acknowledging more that Obama does. He pops up with summer and year-end book, music, and film recommendations. He highlighted a few articles about AI, and then they talk about Michelle has a book coming out later this year. I guess that's a problem too. So The Atlantic says in normal times, no one would deny Obama these diversions. He performed the world's most stressful job for 8 years, served his country, made his history, and deserved to kick back and do the usual ex-president things. Start a foundation, build a library, make unspeakable amounts of money. But the inevitable Trump-era counterpoint is that these are not normal times. And Obama's detachment, they're calling the man detached, even though this article has literally just listed 12 to 15 things of him being engaged. The Atlantic says it would be one thing if Obama had disappeared after leaving the White House, maybe taking up painting like George W. Bush, a living president that absolutely no one ever calls on. Is it our fault he was stupid? We called that man so many names. We talked about him so bad. I would take GW any day. And GW was problematic as fuck. I would take GW any day over our current leader. They said the problem is that Obama still very much has a public profile, one that screams comfort and nonchalance at the same time when so many other Americans are terrified. They talked to someone from the Progressive Change Institute, Adam Green. He says there are many grandmas and Rachel Maddow viewers who have been more vocal in this moment than Barack Obama has. It's heartbreaking to see him sacrificing that megaphone when nobody else quite has it. So here's the fundamental issue. Barack Obama has been out of office for over 8 years, and the Democratic Party has not found a replacement. That's not a Barack Obama problem. It's a Democratic Party problem, and you're trying to take the whole thing and trying to place it on Barack Obama's shoulders. Make another Barack. I know it ain't easy. You got to go find that person, or better, cultivate that person. To a degree, I get it. Under Obama, there were more sane times. We weren't waking up every day to like just being bombarded with insane ranting social media posts from like a wannabe dictator that can like barely form sentences and doesn't know punctuation. Like it was a better time. Like I get the yearning, the nostalgia, the desire for sanity and stability, but like you're putting way too much on one man and one in particular Black man to come and save y'all. And like Black people, we done saved enough. We done saved America time and time and time and time again. Y'all got to figure out your own shit at some point. They talked to Eric Holder for this article, former Attorney General Eric Holder, which if you don't follow him on social media, you should. He too is retired. He be running his mouth 24/7. He has a lot of thoughts, and I agree with like 99% of them. The article says Holder bristles at suggestions that the former president has somehow deserted the Trump opposition. He says, quote, should he do more? He said, everybody can have their opinions. He says, the one thing that always kind of pisses me off when people say he's not out there or he's not doing things, that he's just retired and we never hear from him. Holder said, if you fucking look, folks, you would see he's out there, as evidenced by like the first 5 paragraphs of this article, an article complaining about Barack Obama ain't nowhere. Meanwhile, listing all the places Barack Obama is and all the things he's been speaking out about. I'm scrolling down. They're going on to talk about Obama's famous friends, Richard Branson, David Geffen, George Clooney. It's very much giving they're upset with the uppity Negro. They're saying he's out of touch with the American people. He's an ex-president. He was once one of the most powerful men on the planet. How in touch do you expect the man to be? Is this an expectation that you have of Clinton? Do you have this of George Bush? Do you have this of Donald Trump? Okay, now here they actually acknowledge. They said Obama did insert himself in the 2024 election, taking an aggressive behind-the-scenes role. He delivered a showstopper speech at the DNC. He campaigned several times for Kamala Harris in the fall. Complaining that the man not doing enough, again, listing all the things the man does. Really? Still scrolling down in the article. We're almost to the end. I'm obviously not reading the whole thing either. So this is what The Atlantic proposes that Barack Obama should do. They want him to do more public dialogues and make them thematic. They want him to focus on Trump's serial violations of the Constitution. And they recall that Obama once taught constitutional law. They want him to address Trump's corruption. They want Obama to blast out scathing lines about Trump on social media. And they acknowledge, yes, it might trigger Trump and create more attention than Obama evidently wants. Apparently, it doesn't matter what he actually wants. Like, that's irrelevant. It's like what the white people who wrote this article want. Okay. They said Obama could tape reoccurring 5-minute video clips highlighting Trump's latest acts and title the series, Can You Imagine If I Did This? Or another idea. They admit this one is far-fetched. And again, this article is from June 8th, so it's before Trump's military parade. They said Obama could host his own event in Washington or somewhere nearby, and it would get tons of attention and drive Trump crazy, especially if it draws a bigger crowd. And, better yet, make it a parade. I'm literally reading from this article, y'all. I'm literally, everything I just said for like the last minute is all quote. But better yet, make it a parade or a citizens march, something that builds momentum as it goes. It could be led by former president and community organizer leading on foot. So I guess Martin Luther King over the Selma Bridge or some shit. They're obviously, again, writing this before Trump's military parade, which means they're also writing this before the No Kings protest. They don't know that Trump's parade is going to be empty and that 5 million people are going to come out in cities all over this country to protest the current administration. And Obama never had to show up. That the actual people of this country are getting shit done without Barack Obama being their magical Negro, their black savior who will come and solve their white problems. Imagine that. Imagine. Or not, because it was actually a reality. This is in closing. It says few things would fire up Democrats like a head-to-head matchup between Trump and Obama. If nothing else, it would be fun to contemplate while Democrats keep casting about for their long-delayed future. Is this man's life a fucking joke to you? It'll be fun to watch. Fuck you. He got other shit to do. He got a whole family. He got a whole wife. He had a whole job. He got other things he want to do with his life other than battle shit out in politics every day. He served his time. I'm so sick of Atlantic with this shit. I'm so sick of white folks in general. And not white folks, all white folks. I mean, specifically the white folks. I mean, the racists, obviously. The racists and the bigots in, this whole administration, obviously. But also, the white folks who just sit around and, twiddle their fucking thumbs crying about, where's Obama? Where's Obama? Come save us. Save your fucking selves. On behalf of him, on behalf of Kamala, and on behalf of the 92%. And whatever 80% of black men who also voted for Kamala because they saw this is some bullshit coming. Overwhelmingly, black men also voted for Kamala, even though they get scapegoated as not doing so. It wasn't in the 90s, but it was in the 80s. This is better than any other demographic. I'm fed up. I'm not going to bed. I'm going to edit. One quick update. Since I recorded this episode last week, and then since I started editing earlier tonight, the guy whose name I had to look up, Zohran Mamdani, he just won the Democratic primary in New York. He beat Cuomo. This is a major upset. Oh my gosh. And he beat him by a significant amount. He got 43.5% of the vote and Cuomo got 36.3%. That said, Cuomo is not exactly agreeing to drop out. He has conceded that Mamdani won the primary. He released a statement. He said, I want to look at all the numbers as they come in and analyze the ranked choice voting. I will then consult my colleagues on what is the best path for me to help the city of New York, as I have already qualified to run for mayor on an independent line in November. So Cuomo is down, but not out. Sir, you just lost to a 33-year-old who only passed, by your words, 3 bills while he was in the legislature. Your time is up. Time's up. Call it a wrap, my dude. Call it a wrap. We'll talk, I don't know, soon. The Diddy trial just wrapped today. The defense spent 23 minutes, by the Washington Post count, putting on a defense. It was a 23-minute defense. But the prosecution has rested and the defense has rested. The prosecution is going to do a 4-hour closing argument. The defense is expected to do the same. They're going to spend more time on the closing argument than they did on the whole defense. And then at some point, allegedly before July 4th, we'll have a verdict for the Diddy case. That's the episode. So for all the folks who were like, can you give us content that's not Diddy? It's only the child of the century. But could you give us something else? You're asking a lot. Asking a lot. Oh my God, this is like the never-ending episode. It's now Wednesday morning. I've awakened to news. My phone was blowing up. This is an exclusive from TMZ. The headline is Diddy prosecutors dropping attempted kidnapping, arson, and certain sex trafficking charges. Certain sex trafficking charges does not mean all charges. TMZ reports as of 8:34 this morning, in a stunning move the day before closing arguments in Diddy's federal criminal trial, prosecutors have pulled back on key testimony. They are dropping the charges for attempted kidnapping and then also the arson. That would be Cuddy's car blown up in his driveway. Somebody tried to make a Molotov cocktail with an expensive silk scarf and a 40-ounce. That. They're dropping the charges for kidnapping, attempted arson, and specifically the aiding and abetting part of the sex trafficking. The judge gave instructions to the prosecution and the defense that they wanted to streamline the instructions that were given to the jury. So TMZ notes that the reality of all this is prosecutors seem to feel that they've fallen flat on proving Diddy allegedly kidnapped. That's what I just said. And then TMZ continues, still scrolling. It says, more surprising, prosecutors are not pursuing the attempted arson claim that Diddy blew up Kid Cudi's car in a jealous rage. It said during the trial, prosecutors never directly linked Diddy to the fire. Like there was no like smoking gun or like video of him like throwing a Molotov cocktail or instructing someone to do so. Unless you standing there looking at it saying, I saw him and he's on video and his grandma identifies him on the video. It's a Dave Chappelle joke. How do you actually prove that? Like outright. TMZ notes that both of these charges relate to the racketeering charge that Diddy faces. And then lastly, TMZ notes that prosecutors are not dropping the sex trafficking charges, only elements of them, specifically the part about aiding and abetting. So what does this all mean for the outcome of the Diddy trial? I have no fucking idea. I'm not a lawyer. They didn't cover this on The Wire or Law and Order. I got to call a friend. Let's call a friend with a law degree. Where's Kim? Kim Foxx is the former Cook County State's attorney. You know who she is. She prosecuted that R. Kelly trial. And she was on Ratchet and Respectable, I want to say like last Monday, not this past Monday, the Monday before that. She came on the pod and she broke down what RICO was for. She did a really good job. She's my dad's like favorite expert. Let's call Kim. Where's Kim? Kim.
Girl.
What is going on, Kim? I don't understand what's going on.
Girl, well, we're at the end. It is time tomorrow at the end of the closing remarks to hand over the case to the jury. So where we are today is a bunch of hearings or a hearing is happening about the jury instructions. There's cleanup of the indictment of what they're actually going to present to the jury. And it's showing where, you know, the state and defense believe their strengths and weaknesses are.
You were the first person that texted me this morning and you sent me the TMZ article and I completely freaked out because I was like, what do you mean they're dropping charges? And then over the course of the day, TMZ has since changed its article.
Yeah.
And so now it's saying prosecutors are dumbing down the elements of the RICO charge, which is entirely different than canceling charges. And I was like, okay, I'm completely out of my element. They didn't cover this on The Wire in Law and Order. I need to call an actual prosecutor because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know these things. I don't know these things. So thank you for letting me interrupt your day to be like, Kim.
No, I'm invested. I told you. You got me invested. So to be clear, when they indict, when they do that initial charging documents, prosecutors generally try to throw everything in the kitchen sink into that indictment, right? They don't want to miss any possible element. And so that is what they're going off of. Every witness, as I said before, is there to testify to a certain element of that indictment. What we're seeing today, what was reported today, is that the prosecutors, having now gone through 8 weeks of trial, 34 witnesses, saying, all right, do we need this? Can we prove our case without this particular element and not overburden the jury? Don't forget, just like you are a podcaster by day, world traveler, you are not a lawyer. And neither are those 12 men and women who have to have this case. And so I think the prosecution is deciding, like, what do we need to give them that doesn't overwhelm them, that still gets us to what we need in this case? And I think that's what we're seeing today.
Is the prosecution streamlining these charges a result of them not proving their case? Or is this more about just making things simple for the jury and everyone's just overreacted?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think they've had an opportunity to look at the last 8 weeks and see what has resonated with the jury, what has resonated in conversations. The jury can't talk to anybody or learn about the case, but the prosecution can, right? The prosecution can see, hey, how did Jane come across to the jury? Is her testimony going to present issues for us? If so, how do we make sure in our jury instructions that whatever those concerns we have are addressed? The heart of all of the sex trafficking piece is the consent as it relates to coercing, forcing Jane, Cassie into these acts. And so the coercion piece is really important because the defense is going to say, particularly related to Jane, she wasn't forced to do this. She wasn't coerced to do this. And they will use, as we talked about before, all of the text messages where she says how much she loves it, when she's talking about the outfits that she's choosing, when she's talking about calling themselves the big three, right? Those things they recognize may prove problematic. And so today is about how do we make sure that jurors look at that evidence with the right mindset and not, as the average layperson who would giving it the side eye.
What exactly are they taking out of the instructions? Am I asking that the right way?
So the indictment is what we call the charging document. The instruction is literally like a manual that they can go back to and say, all right, here's the charges that we're required to look at. Here's what we are required to look at in terms of proving that. What they took out were certain charges. So certain charges related to attempted kidnapping. The kidnapping charge is still there. The attempts are taken out. And on the sex cases or the sex trafficking cases, they're taking out the aiding and abetting language, which means that you were assisting in doing this. But the sex trafficking charge itself is still there.
So did the entire internet just freak out all day for nothing?
The internet, people mean, yeah, we got to be clear in our words. But yeah, I think the sensationalism of this case, when you hear they are dropping charges, the instinct is to be like, oh my God, what happened? I do think that these moves are a reaction, though, to what has happened over the last several weeks. They don't want any confusion. Let's make this as clean, concise for our jurors as we can. And we don't want them caught up in was this an attempt or not? Did it or not? Just take it out. You don't need it.
That sounds so much less dramatic than what it was this morning.
The way that it was presented, again, I think it was meant to do exactly what it did. And you probably have journalists who aren't really into the legality of it all, surmising. But yeah, this is a cleanup. This is a cleanup of the charges that the jury will look at in that back room so that the prosecution presents the strongest case that they have and eliminate things that might be a distraction.
While I have you, can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
At least one more. The defense was 23 minutes. I know when we spoke before, you were like, they actually don't have to put on anything. Like the burden of proof is entirely on the prosecution, the feds.
Yeah.
But I was like, 23 minutes?
Yeah. What you got, right? If you are not going to have an actual witness come up there to refute, like that, he would have to put on a case that refutes what has been said. What has been really, again, we talked about this, interesting is the number of text messages and audio messages and video associated with this case that they've been doing the refuting what has been said with the words of the victims. Right. And so if in the summation witnesses on Monday where they are going through and saying, actually, you didn't include this in your chart, read this out loud. And in reading out loud, it's Jane talking about how much she enjoyed this, or Jane reaching out to Sly on her own, or Jane talking lovingly and kindly. These are things that don't sound like coercion. And so what they have done is say, look, we don't have an individual. And I told you, it would be hard to find someone with clean hands to come in and testify on that man's defense. What they did do was say, well, let's use your own witnesses to show why you have not proven your case against me. 23 minutes was actually pretty long. If you ain't calling anybody after they advise him of his right to not speak, and he says that part, most times the defense will say the defense rests.
I told you, like, my legal education is made for TV and film. I was expecting, a defense that lasts at least as long as the prosecution. I was like, 23 minutes.
His mama? Like, who he calling? Like, you'd have to have someone to mount the defense. And what they are saying and what this signals is we believe that the prosecution's case is so weak, that their witnesses are so incredible, that all of their witnesses have dirty hands. We'll argue this before the jury and we'll send it back.
Well, something you did say earlier, we were texting this morning, you were pointing out like the number, you were pointing out the number of witnesses who were given immunity for being connected with this.
Yeah.
And the jury may say that, like, okay, so like, they did all the same things he did, but they got immunity, but he didn't.
Yeah. That they're going to argue tomorrow's. You're going to hear a lot from the defense about the credibility of the witnesses, all of them, right? Because they are all with dirty hands, right? So in as much as you heard from Capricorn Clark, but she sees that this horrible thing is happening to this woman and does nothing, right? If she thought this woman was in such danger, why didn't she call the police? But you're Eddie, the bribe taker, right? Like he was out for himself. He was out for his own money. Like over the course of this entire conspiracy, if you will, Diddy wasn't acting alone. All of these people, in essence, aided and abetted him and somehow are not being held accountable. And the other thing I want to just throw in, because I was looking at this again, even on the drug piece. So they're using, the prosecution is saying part of the coercion in getting these women to do this are Diddy procuring these drugs and giving them drugs. And what the defense is going to say, you've heard that this man has been smoked out. Right? He is using E. He is using ketamine. He is using cocaine. He's using it too. So the coercion piece feels a little iffy when it's like, no, I'm not forcing them to use drugs to do this. We just use drugs as a part of the play of this. So it's going to be interesting. I think the defense very much is going to attack that all of the witnesses, except for the law enforcement, Homeland Security people, have dirty hands.
Despite the dirty hands, I thought all of the witnesses were pretty credible, except Brianna. That was the one who was like, it happened on this date, I'm absolutely sure. And they were like, he wasn't in the city. And I was like, very Perry Mason. Okay. And then she was like, I was high the whole time. So, could be, could not be. And I was like, why is she on the stand? Okay.
Yeah.
And then also, not that I didn't find Jane credible. It's just like, It's just a big girl. What?
Jane is a problem. And I say this again with no disparaging what she has gone through. I believe her. But the way that they're going to use Jane, and, bring me back in a couple days if I'm wrong, is that Jane, in all of it, the indictment alleges that, he used her housing, to coerce her to do this. Or that he threatened to cut her off. What you have with Jane is someone who is, like I said, went to a freak off in Vegas without him and exposed her boob, just talking about wanting, Chanel bags like the other women get. The other women get the vacations, and I do this thing for you. I'm doing this to try to procure my love for you, which may be a personal vulnerability of Jane, and quite frankly, why Diddy chose her, right? Like, again, all of this is alleged. Get our word back in there. But
our favorite word.
But folks know, people who are predators, and I'm not saying that he is, but let's say theoretically, predators know the weak and the vulnerable. They know what drives that. That's who they go for. Who will allow me to do this to them? How can I get in there and manipulate them? They know, right? We've talked about this a lot in sex crime, sex trafficking cases, is the ability to manipulate your victim. And Jane, what they're going to have to do is prove that despite Jane loving Chanel bags and loving the life and the house and not having to work, that he still wielded coercion over her by stripping those things from her. It's going to be an argument. It is not as cut and dry, I think, when you go back in that jury room, when they start to argue that this is a very wealthy man who had a very robust and kinky sex life, and women throw themselves at him at all times. These are the women that he chose. This is the life that he gave them. Even with the expert saying that, look, that's how survivors move. Without somebody in that room, you just need one juror. You just need one to say no. They're going for the one juror, the one person in that room that's like, this don't seem right. And they're going to use Jane to do that.
Yep. Would you have put Jane on the stand?
No, absolutely not. And listen, in fairness to them, right? I don't know how Jane presented before. I don't know if how she came off was a surprise to them. It's what we talked about before, that even, like I said, Cassie, you've got video of Diddy chasing her, right? So when you talk about coercion on the sex trafficking, she's running from a freak off. She's trying to get away from there. He's coming. He's punching her. He's pulling her by her hair. He's throwing stuff.
He literally drags her back.
Yeah, that like coercion for me. The next time, I'm probably not going to say no, because the last time I did this, you beat my ass. That is you can make those cases for Cassie in a way that I think, as much as they might try to be like, oh, she benefited. No, you blacked her eye. You kept her in a hotel. You refused to allow her to leave. Going back to that kidnapping piece. Like, I think those make sense. And I think you have a strong case there. With Jane, like I said, even the physical element of it came after the Cassie lawsuit had dropped, after she knew what was happening.
After years of them being together.
This is what I'm saying. So I think she becomes not necessarily an asset and a potential liability. And again, in fairness to the prosecution team, when asking me what I have called her, I got the benefit of the 2020 hindsight. I got the benefit of watching her speak. And I just have to assume that they may not have known that she would be as challenging a witness as she was. I don't know that they asked her, do you gravitate towards providers? And appreciate what that might sound like in a jury room.
Is there anything else that I am missing from this case? Any key element people are discussing, or that you've, thought of while you're, looking at things with your prosecutorial eye that I would absolutely miss, that I should be asking you about?
No, I think you've done a really thorough job of laying it out. And again, this isn't going to be lawyers. This is going to be lay people in the back of the jury room going through this. And I think you've done an excellent job of trying to make it accessible to non-lawyers. I think about our conversation before and the piece about consent. That's going to be the linchpin here. That typically when we think about sex trafficking, we think about young girls, we think about, people in these vulnerable positions. The consent element here is going to be where the defense tries to hang their hat. And Jane feels more difficult versus a Cassie who, I'm going to send these videos to your mom. I'm going to send these videos out. Like, that's coercion. That it's so clear. It's so much more clear.
I'm going to run your mama for $20,000 and she going to put her house.
Yeah, and the bribery, just very clear. Like, there's enough there that I think, the prosecution feels very confident about. I think the defense, their strategy is going to be, all we need is one. They're trying to find that one sympathetic juror, and they're going to use Jane to do it.
Do you think he'll be convicted on something?
I think it would be really difficult for him to get beyond the bribery allegation, even the kidnapping allegation. The transporting sex workers felt very clear to me. They're going to argue on the defense side, listen, he was paying for their time, not for their sex. They aren't saying that I'm a commercial sex worker. They didn't say he was paying me for sex. They were saying I went there because I was called there and then I got down with them. And they've developed a relationship. Her reaching out to Sly or Paul or whomever on their own demonstrates that, we got a relationship. You just paid for me to come out there. And you got a chef? I could be cooking. We're paying for your time.
Also, though, I think it was on Monday's testimony, they have, or maybe it was Friday, but Diddy's like haggling with like the employee from the escort agency. They said, you owe us $600 more. He said, the guy didn't perform. So like, why am I paying you? The agency has to be like, you're paying for his time. But Diddy's insisting, no, I'm paying for, him to perform.
But what's the performance? Is the performance that he comes and like a dance routine? What's the performance? Like, that's going to be the argument, is that is the performance having sex versus coming and taking it's $2,000 an hour to be with our escort. Escort services are legal. Prostitution services are not. They're arguing escort, not
Is there a difference? I just assumed all the escorts also,
I feel like your other expert talked about this, right? Like, why the use of the word escort feels problematic because, I've escorted people to some shit that is like, we ain't getting down.
I've gone to dinners with people. They didn't pay me like $2,000, $3,000 to go to the event.
But they have paid escort services that the wealthy, who, the nerdy CEO who wants to go impress someone can go pay for someone to spend time with them. Escort services are legal.
I just assumed everybody was fucking.
That's illegal.
Like, you may go to the event, but then you also go back to the hotel or the house.
That's on my side hustle. That's on my, that's like when you go to Massage Envy and you get like a great massage and you like, I don't want to pay the Massage Envy rates. Can you like do this over here? It's the same here. The escort service will say, we don't do that. That is strictly prohibited. But if I slide you some dollars on the side and you ain't on the clock for...
Things you do on your personal time.
Correct. And they're going to argue personal time.
Semantics.
Damn, that's the law. That's the legality of it all, is that this will be down to credibility and semantics. But they're going to say, that's how they're going to try to fight the prostitution piece. These aren't prostitutes. These were legal escorts for whom we got into relationships with, became cool with us. So cool. They're going to use Jane's text. They're going to use the text. I miss Paul. I miss you. What you on? What you doing?
Yeah, come see me separate, blah, 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 because we're all in one gigantic relationship.
Ma'am. Ma'am. We ain't got to understand it. Legally, that is what the argument's going to be.
Well, thank you, my Kim. I greatly appreciate you taking time. I'm going to call you again.
Yeah.
Every time something comes up, and especially when we get this verdict.
When we get this verdict, we must circle back.
Thank you again to Kim Foxx coming to break it down for me. Because like she said, like, I'm a podcaster. Like, I'm also a journalist, but I also am not a lawyer. So it's really important when we get into the nitty gritty of the legal documents. It's one thing to read the indictment and have reactions, but then we talk about like strategy, talking about jury instructions. They didn't cover that on none of the TV shows I watched. Even Your Honor, they didn't cover that. I'm very thankful that we have Kim to come and break it down for us. So thank you again, Kim. And thank you again for listening to this long-ass episode. Bye. Just bye. I don't know when I'm going to talk to you again because I didn't talk to you way too much today. Bye.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. When you use Angie for your home projects, you know all your jobs will be done well. Roof repair? Done well. Kitchen sink install? Done well. Deck upgrades? Done well. Electrical upgrade? Done well. Angie's been connecting homeowners with skilled pros for nearly 30 years, so we know the difference between done and done well. Hire high-quality pros at Angie.com.